Have you guys heard that the first few seconds of a video can either make or break the entire video? But yet people don't talk about that when it comes to cold calling. This video, I'm actually going to dive deeper into the comparison between Mojo and Enzo, but I will also kind of explain a little bit what I'm talking about when it comes to the first few seconds. But let's go over, I actually typed up a whole list here, pros and cons, so I can kind of keep on track and I'm not all over the place and everything kind of makes sense. And this is really because I've been getting a lot of questions. I did experiment. I've actually had Mojo since early 2022 and I have tried other dialers, but there's a lot of talk about Enzo and I know it's been around for over a year, and there's other dialers, for example, call tools, which I know some people who like Enzo try call tools, and I'm not sure how their experience is going with that. But I, as a solopreneur, solo agent, I do own my own real estate company. I have been very successful with Mojo, but I just wanted to experience the difference. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let me show you what Enzo's dialer actually looks like. Now, the one interesting thing about Enzo, and here, let me pull this up. Perfect. So this is Enzo's dialer. What's interesting about Enzo is they have their admin portion where you're supposed to upload all your lists. That's where you can track all your data. And they have a completely separate dialer. So this is the dialer function. If you'll notice, it looks colorful. It's blue. I like the keypad on the right. I don't believe it really does anything. The only buttons I ever used was the orange play button and the hang up, as well as the mute button. But when I was being onboarded, because I always like to say I'm very click happy. My husband knows I'm very click happy, and I like to just like experiment and know what something is capable of. But the gentleman who onboarded me said, don't worry about the other buttons. They don't really work. And I had, commented, well, if they don't really work, they don't really have a purpose. Why doesn't the IT team or someone just kind of get rid of it? And he didn't really have a response, which I totally get it. But it would have been nice if they had a feature, maybe like the Google Maps here or the Zillow, without me, requesting it, just kind of like a nice little feature that they can implement. But I didn't really do much here. Now, the thing is, once you hit this play button, this orange button, the thing is already calling. It's super silent, and it's supposed to have this like water droplet sound when a call comes through, kind of like how Mojo has the live answer beep. And let me just show you what I did here. On their admin side, this is where you upload your lists, your campaigns, where you look at all your data. Interestingly enough, I forget which one it was exactly, but one of these I could see other people's information, which kind of freaked me out, jumped out of that. I was clicking on every little report here to see what I could see, and it got very overwhelming. Very, I don't know. I mean, I'm very analytical and I like looking at data, and some of the buttons that I thought would make sense to me didn't. And that was just kind of my experience when it comes to, for example, Mojo. It's just like one button and I can see everything at full glance. Personally, as a solo agent, I was not satisfied, and I can see this actually benefiting if you have teams or ISAs or you just want someone to make a ton of calls for you all at once. But this is their admin side. Now, since I mentioned 33 conversations, I do want to explain. So, yes, I got 33 conversations. Yes, it was kind of like, whoa, what just happened? I feel like that movie, have you ever seen with Bradley Cooper, Limitless, where he's like able to do anything and everything's just like happening really fast, and then he that point where he takes too much, he doesn't really understand what happened, and he totally lost track of 18 hours. That's kind of how I felt. Like after the 60-minute session, I just felt, what happened? I don't remember having a genuine connection with someone. And what's crazy is, so the dialer, it's supposed to be up to 14 lines. And as it was dialing, people are hanging up, I'm missing calls. People were getting thrown into my line about midway or halfway after they had picked up, which threw me for a loop. And then the conversations that I was having, I wasn't able to subconsciously or consciously mirror and match as I'm able to. So as previously, as I was mentioning, people talk about, oh, the first 30 seconds of the call, the first 10 seconds. I listened to Vinji on communication skills expert guy out of Australia, who I absolutely adore. And it's really that split second, or that 1 second, maybe 2-3 seconds, that's going to make or break a call. And it's all about mirroring and matching. That is something that I've been able to hone in on, practice my skills when it comes to Mojo, because it's a little slower pace, very slow pace compared to Enzo. But it's nice because when someone answers, I can fully pay attention to how they answered. Whereas when I was on Enzo, it was very difficult to, it kind of felt like, imagine you're at a concert and you drop your phone and you start frantically looking for it and you start talking to strangers going, have you seen my phone? 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 The tonality is lost. The intention of the conversation is lost, and then you just kind of feel a little bit more of a parrot, in the sense of you're just saying the same thing, shouting it. That's kind of how it seemed for myself, and I only speak from experience when it came to Enzo. Whereas with Mojo, when someone answers, again, going back to the first few seconds of a cold call, when someone answers and they go, hey, I immediately know to say hey the same way. Or if they say good morning, I say good morning. But it's not just the words, it's also the tonality, the pace, the cadence, the volume, whether they're whispering or they're shouting. And I wasn't able to do that with Enzo because it was just so fast. So even though I did get my 33 calls in, which was fantastic, I felt very like I was on an adrenaline. I felt like I had been thrown around and it just wasn't me. This may work for some people. It's just, I keep saying, it's not my jam, it's not my cup of tea, it's not for me. And that's totally fine. If you like that pace, if you like to just hammer out calls, doesn't matter. If you just want to say, are you planning on selling? Are you planning on selling? Are you planning on selling? Are you planning on selling 50 times in 60 minutes? Then Enzo just might be the one for you. But for myself, I have a nice steady system. So hence I don't have Enzo anymore. But again, this video is about kind of the pros and cons. So the biggest one for Enzo, for sure, undeniably, you will get a lot of conversations, 100%. Let me pull this up. Oh, this was actually also a really nice feature for Enzo. They actually record all your calls, which was nice, and the playback was really nice. So they do record all their conversations. I can't confirm nor deny if it's for the incoming calls as well, but they do record for sure the outbounds, which takes me to inbounds. So this is one thing Mojo doesn't do, that Enzo's really good at, and it can be to a fault, but when someone calls you back and you're available, the call will come in so you don't miss on any opportunities, which I think is strategic. So you can get your calls. And I do believe it helps with so you're so your number's not marked as spam, or so the numbers that they use in the back end, which we don't see, don't get marked as spam. Now, when it comes to those inbound calls, you can't tell if they're an inbound call. The only way I could typically tell is after the call was over. And that was one thing I asked on my onboarding session. He said if an inbound call comes, it will get thrown in and you'll have that conversation. And I said, will I be able to know so I can address the caller like, hey, thanks for calling me back? And he said, actually, no. But once the conversation was over, I could see that it was an inbound call. I'm like, oh, okay, so that was an inbound call, because you start seeing the numbers increase on the inbound portion. Now, when it comes to those inbounds, I have had this happen a couple times just in the few sessions I already had with Enzo. And actually, you can see it on my live when I did Enzo live. Someone called me back multiple times. So, for example, if I have a conversation, or maybe I hang up, didn't hear them, and they call me back, it's an inbound call. Maybe I can't hear them, or maybe I decide, oh my gosh, I already spoke with them, whatever. If I hang up, they can call again if I'm not on the line. So it can actually disrupt. So if they call 8 times repeatedly, it will come into my line, disrupt my dialing session. I did speak to the salesperson regarding this. That kind of very upset me, because when it comes to Mojo, I can redirect those calls to another line. But with Enzo, it can keep. So if somebody wants to call you 20 times repeatedly, they can, meaning you can't have other conversations, because a call will continuously come back. And if they do, star 67 or pound 67, like where it says unknown number for caller ID, they can get through in case Enzo were to block them, which, by the way, you cannot manually block that number coming back. So you will have to abort or escape your dialing session and contact Enzo right away. But there is no immediate customer service. You would either have to text the salesperson, do the little AI bot, or send an email. But I don't believe there's a 800 number, because I asked them, and otherwise they would have offered, unless, maybe they, I don't know. So that's the call recording and the outbound and the inbound as far as Enzo. And since I previously had mentioned the inbound and preventing from spam, Enzo's really good with monitoring. They take more of that responsibility to keep the numbers from going into spam. So, for example, with Mojo, I do have my number, but Enzo, they have hundreds and thousands of phone numbers that they recycle and protect, so you don't have to. Because, for example, Mojo, I do have to whitelist my number, report it, let them know who I am. But with Enzo, he had mentioned, or they had mentioned, that they keep their phone numbers clean so you can get your calls in. And they also mentioned, so supposedly no one can trace you, no one knows who you are, no one can figure out who you are, which can be a plus or minus depending on who you are. So they take on that responsibility of making sure those calls or those phone numbers don't go into spam. Hence, it makes sense why those inbound calls come in as well, because that does generally help keeping your number going from spam. Now let me kind of switch over to Mojo as far as why I still use it, why I have continued to use it. So remember I mentioned Enzo, you have your admin, you have your lists, your data, where you look at your reports, and then you have your dialer separate. So as far as Mojo goes, it is my 4-in-1. It is where I dial, of course, where I get my leads for super cheap, which I'll mention to you shortly, as well as tracking my data on that prospecting dashboard. It's all there. And then I curated it to be my CRM, so I'd never lose track of my leads. I don't have to have a connector to send them to a different platform. I don't have to have two different softwares or anything like that. It's all in one place. When it comes to Mojo, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes that I have here for you guys. I do want to kind of compare what I was saying before with Enzo. So for example, when it comes to the inbound, Mojo does have that capability as well. So what I like to do is, yes, I have two phones. You don't have to have two phones, but it has made my business and my whole life and everything much easier to operate. So what's nice is I'll be making my calls on one phone and I can redirect pickups to another. And hopefully, because they are working, I know if you have Android, I have iPhones, but if you have an Android, you can do the Mojo caller ID. So people actually call back and you know who's calling you, which is pretty cool. And I hope they can get it back to iPhone. They can. I'm not even going to tell you. Well, you know what? This is a pros and cons video. I'll just tell you now. So Mojo, apparently, if on the iPhone, because iPhone keeps making all these updates, they have to keep making changes, so it's not perfect. But Mojo ends up putting these people's like who you're calling into your actual contacts, so it can really mess up your whole contact list and your iPhone, which I don't want to do. So hence why I haven't done it. But supposedly they might be fixing it. We'll see. Unless I just decide to get an Android as a side phone, but I really don't want to have three phones at this point in time. So the nice thing is redirecting the calls, because what I do from time to time is answer those phone calls. So if I do my dialing session and I'm out and about, I can actually answer the phone. Whereas with Enzo, you have to be on your computer. And that kind of brings me back to Enzo. One of the great features about theirs was it's the voice over internet, is it protocol provider, VoIP? Voice over internet provider, some VoIP, VoIP. So with Enzo, you make your calls from your screen. Like, it uses your speaker, it uses your microphone. Whereas Mojo, it's always been primarily dialing in. And that is one of the things people don't like about Mojo, is the fact that you have to dial in and connect. But they just rolled out a feature that if you want to do Mojo Voice, same as Enzo, you can, but it's $30 a month. I do know some realtors who are starting to use it. Some of them didn't see a difference. Some of them did see a difference because their cell phone service where they may reside or work isn't the greatest connection. So hence they like using the voice. But it's interesting because if you're on your laptop with Enzo and someone calls you back, you're not going to get that call. Whereas with your Mojo, and you do from the dial-in and someone calls you back, you can actually answer it to have that opportunity. Let's see here. Oh, let me dive into cost. This is one of the things people keep asking me about. Let me pull up my screen. All right, here we are. So this is Mojo. This is their pricing. You can go to their website, click on pricing, and then here, so if you're starting, for example, I would recommend doing the single line dialer, because you do want to get used to the interface of Mojo first. And what's really nice is Enzo, they do actually have a single line dialer now, and the power line dialer like Mojo, as well as their smart dialer, which is what they've been known for, because the smart dialer is that one where it says it's up to 14 lines and it's supposed to decrease and increase, so you're not missing on opportunities and like blowing through numbers. But in my opinion, if you're going to do single line dialer or a power dialer like Mojo, then why not just have Mojo? But in this case, as far as pricing goes, their single line dialer is $89 a month. And then you would have, let's see here. Well, you can do Mojo Voice and then the call recording. And then these are kind of like the add-ons that you can do. Let's see here. Oh, not 2. Where did that come from? Oh, right here. So they're always going to get you with the $10 a month. And then if you signed up for the single line dialer, that would be 89. And then what I do is I circle prospects. So I actually only use neighborhood search. So that would be $49. So if you were at these 3, you would be looking at $148 a month. Now here's the thing that you guys in my Facebook group have asked, and my comments on this channel, just everywhere, which I totally get it. This is how I've done it, where you pay a one-time fee of the $49, technically with a neighborhood search. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Neighborhood search. Yes, here it is. Nope, that's not the one. Neighborhood search. Target high value leads with Mojo's neighborhood search. Easily build custom calling lists by drawing a map or selecting zip code, and then filter by property status length. So you can do anything with that. What's really great is it's technically unlimited. So you can go on there and pull 100,000 names and numbers if you want. But the thing is, it has to stay within Mojo, which I don't mind whatsoever. So you can just do a one-time fee. I think over time, again, you may sign up. Like I've signed up twice before just to go back in and get fresh data. But as far as like at least operating for several months, you could just do the 49, and then you would technically just be running at a $99 cost a month, including data and a dialer. Once you're comfortable, then you can upgrade to the triple line dialer. And if you want, you could do the call recording, which I actually have, and it is helpful when I initiate the conversation and I forgot to take notes, and I can go back and just kind of analyze what I said, what the conversation was, whatever it may be. Now, when it comes to Enzo, they don't have pricing on their website. I know they used to have a much more expensive setup fee when they first started. It was like, I think it was like $450 or $495 when I had inquired back in May of 2024. And it was always $180 a month. It's still been $180 a month, but I think the setup fee has just changed. I paid a one-time setup fee of it was $125 and then $180 monthly. And if you want to sign up with them, you're not able to just sign up voluntarily. You do have to speak to someone. It's like a sales call, so you sign up with them. Now, they don't provide data, and this is one of the places people keep bringing, one of the many actually. I have so many of you who've come onto my lives and told me about where you get your leads. So this is the one that some people like to use. For myself, since I was experimenting, I did not want to sign up for the entire year at $9.95. So if I was looking at the monthly, that's $129 a month plus a $100 activation fee. So just for experimental purposes, I would already be looking, let's just say $230 for data, which, mind you, it's not a lot. It's 1,500, or here we go, 2,000 downloads a month. And since Enzo goes through so many numbers just in one 60-minute session, this is not enough. But let's just say 230 for data, plus the 180, plus the 125. I mean, that's just a lot more than what I already operate with Mojo. But of course, it's the cost, the price that you're going to pay to have so many conversations in such a short period of time. So it's up to you completely. Like if you have, the financial wherewithal to be doing that, by all means, go for it. But I am trying to not just scale to $1 million a year. And mind you, I don't have agents, but I'm trying to maximize my profit as well and just streamline and simplify my entire business. Really quick before I move forward, Mojo and Enzo are great with having some kind of sound when someone answers. So, for example, Mojo has the beep, and then Enzo had the water drop. When I did my live that you can see right here, the water drop wasn't working. But I will say Mojo sometimes will glitch also and it won't work. Because I like to say, if you haven't heard me say this before, technology glitches. No technology system is perfect. No software system is perfect, period. Here are probably the two biggest complaints I would say for both Mojo and Enzo. First off, with Mojo, and for those who use Mojo and have been doing live cold calls with me, will know Mojo's lag time is the absolute worst. Like, I believe if Mojo got rid of the lag time or had a solution for the lag time completely, they would dominate. I have figured out workarounds. I have an Ethernet cable. I will turn off the Wi-Fi off my laptop. I will turn off the Wi-Fi on my cell phone. Hopefully it's great weather. And I know from experience, and you guys see me when I'm making calls on Saturdays and Sundays, Mojo is smooth sailing because the amount, and this is my hypothesis, my like from experience, that when there are less people on the Mojo servers, that you don't have lag time. I mean, have you guys ever heard of a musician? They release an album and then they crash a whole website. It's because there's too much traffic on a server. Same thing when it comes to Mojo. There's too many people, so maybe increasing their servers, maybe having faster servers, more servers, especially since there's so many that use not just realtors, but I know there's other people in different industries that also use Mojo. So that's actually the biggest, I would say, con when it comes to Mojo. And it's so funny because I feel like when I say Mojo, it's like a person. And sometimes I'm like bad at Mojo. It's like we have this hate love relationship. Which brings me to another thing. Sometimes it crashes. Like sometimes it'll just kick me out, throw me out, and I have to reset, which completely destroys my focus, my mental game. You know, when you're just like in the game, you're ready to make your calls, and then it just closes. Like the whole window just closes. It's like, bye, like, see you later. I'm like, what happened? And I know this has happened to many times. In fact, even in our Facebook group, sometimes we'll relay like, hey, Mojo's acting out today. Hey, Mojo's in a mood. Hey, Mojo's not functioning. Or sometimes it's like, Mojo's amazing. Get on Mojo now. It's functioning. It's working. So it has its ups and downs. And I really hope one day Mojo will be really great about that. Now those are the two for Mojo, lag time and it crashes. As far as Enzo go, the two biggest cons, I would say, because you have to realize, yes, you get a lot of calls, and yes, you can have 33 conversations in 60 minutes like I did, and it was 50 pickups, right? Because the 17 variable, the difference between 33 and 50, those were not conversations. Those were answering machines, those were voicemails, those were people hanging up on me. So no conversations. But when it comes to the cons, I realized that you and I basically was constantly uploading lists. The amount of time I spent uploading, saving, getting leads, getting data, getting lists, putting it onto Enzo was all the time I could have spent being on the dialer. So for example, in that 160-minute session, I had timed it. It took me about 20 minutes to get my data, get it onto Enzo before I could actually get to dialing. I did my 60-minute session, and then it took me about 20 minutes after to clean up, figure out who's the contacts, do my notes, do admin, this, that, whatever. So in total, I spent an hour and 40 minutes from beginning to end. Whereas with Mojo, that would have been like a 2 hour session. And no, I will not have had 33 conversations. I'm not going to say that because I could probably have like 20, like a good 20 in 2 hours on a good day, for example. But for myself, it's just about making sure I'm on the dialer for 2 hours, getting my calls in. And surprisingly, the amount of leads I still got with Enzo, even though I had a lot of conversations, was still the same amount of leads that I would have gotten on Mojo. So you guys have seen, I mean, I basically cold call because it's behind the scenes. I can have 8 conversations and get a lead. And then I can have 15 conversations and get 2 leads. With Enzo, I had 33 conversations and get 1 lead or 2 leads. So it's not the sense of like how many conversations I need to have to get those leads, which brings me back to my whole point from the beginning of this video, is that the first few seconds is what makes or breaks a call from my experience, because I have spent a lot of time, a good at least minimum 2 years, getting better with my communication skills. Thank you, Vin Jiang from Australia. I would look him up. I highly recommend him. He has taught me about the power of the pause, which I could not have with Enzo. The cadence. I had to figure out what cadence was. I've been watching FBI agents. I've been watching Evie. If you don't know her, she's that blonde lady all over YouTube. Diary of a CEO. They talk about cadence. They talk about pausing. They talk about the conversations. And more importantly, those first few seconds, from my experience, is going to affect your entire call. And I was not able to implement that with Enzo because the calls were coming in way too fast for me. That's my 2 cents about Enzo. You're more than welcome to try it. So as far as those 2 cons, it was uploading the lists and cleaning up afterward, which really just affected my overall time that I spent in this chair, looking at a dialer, looking at my system. Whereas with Mojo, I sit for 2 hours, do my calls, literally get up and go. I don't have to do anything after the fact. So let's see here. I'm just gonna look at my list really quick. Yep, that's it. So I just want to say not one person has sponsored me. Not Mojo, not Enzo, and I'm glad I'm not, because I'm able to speak freely and just tell you guys from my experience. You're more than welcome to try Enzo on your own. By all means, it just might be up your alley. It might just be the thing that changes everything for you. It's just for myself, because I have simplified all of my systems. That would not be simple for me. So it just doesn't work for my business. But like I said, try it out if you want. It might be for you. I personally like Mojo, hence why I've had it for so long. Yes, I've tried other dialers, Espresso, even Vulcan. I didn't like them either. When it comes to Mojo, they have a certain way of organizing their data in which they recommend. I've tried it also. I didn't like it either, but I curated it to be my CRM, which I cannot do with Enzo. Absolutely not. I cannot make changes even on their admin side. So for myself, I am done with Enzo. If you want to dabble in it, take a behind the scenes glance of what it's like. I did go ahead and do those 3 videos for you guys. It's again behind the scenes. I'm just sitting here. I'm just working. I am figuring out how I'm going to go from making more than $100,000 a year, which I've already doubled, of course, in 2025. But my goal is $1 million a year, build systems, build processes, and feel free to join me for the ride. I'll see you guys on the next video. And if you do want to make calls with me during my lives, feel free to say hello. I will see you later. Bye, everyone.